Hi there everyone, good morning and welcome to this edition of Market Fatafat. I'm Avan Dubash and let's just take a glance at the markets as we speak. Down 0.5%, 10,800 and we're pretty much confined to a tight range. 200 points down on the Sensex after yesterday's smart rally, and the underperformance continues with the broader end of the market just about flat. But there is a mild outperformance vis-a-vis the frontline indices, so holding out in the green but very flat as we speak. Well, we have lots lined up on the show, a whole host of stocks that will be coming your way. So let's bring on board our team of research analysts. They're all standing by and joining in on the technicals. We have Kunal Bothra as well as Hemen Kapadia of KR Choksi Securities. Thanks guys for joining in, and let's get down to business and start off with the first stock that is seeing quite a bit of selling pressure from the media pocket, and that is Zee Entertainment. Just a short while ago, a Bank of America report coming out, and they have downgraded Zee Entertainment to underperform. In fact, they've got a target price of 375, and a number of reasons for this. They believe that the company is expensive in the context of growth. They believe that the market is underestimating the competition as well as the massive investment that's needed for OTT. They've cut their FY 2021 EPS by 6 to 7%. They see multiple headwinds as well coming in for the stock price. And they believe that it is unlikely with respect to an underperformance thesis if they, even if Zee does get a strategic partner, remember that's been the big news, they say they don't see any material re-rating. It is unlikely to trigger an open offer, unlikely to change the fundamentals of the company, with the promoters being the same and the company and the cash not getting invested in Zee, and that is going to be a big headwind as well. So lots of big negatives, 4% down, 479 on Zee. At number 2 then, let's move right on and check in on a stock within the high beta infra pocket, and that is Ashoka Buildcon, which is building gains, by the way, Mubina. Why is that?
Well, yes, because Ashoka Buildcon yesterday announced that Morgan Stanley India Infrastructure has committed about 150 crore rupee equity infusion in its city gas distribution arm, that's Unison Enviro Private Limited. So essentially Ashoka Buildcon and Morgan Stanley India Infrastructure will be holding 51% and 49% stake in this subsidiary with corresponding equity infusion in line with their respective stakes. This equity infusion certainly has brightened prospects. It does portend plethora of benefits as well on the back of this commitment. It's essentially also going to help assuage investors, according to an Edelweiss report. They have treated the city gas distribution business as a deviation from its core EPC and BOT operations. So, of course, by bringing on board a reputed investor, on the company has succeeded in abating all these concerns, and also, of course, taken the first step towards scaling up operations.
All right, no wonder the stock is active in trade today. That's a 3% gain that you're seeing on Ashoka Buildcon. Moving right on to some PSU banks, and let's flag off OBC. Kunal, why does this one catch your eye?
So a lot of the PSU banks are buzzing today in price and volume action. Oriental Bank is no exception to that. Up almost 3.5–4%. Good rise in open interest as well. I think 16 or 70% rise in open interest today. And also the stock is near a swing breakout. So I think on a lot of the parameters, the PSU bank stocks, they look to be going through some sort of a breakout and could restart a new uptrend for themselves. So Oriental Bank is what I've picked up in that space. Buy with target of 100 and stop loss at 88.
Okay, those are some important levels to watch out for. That's an interesting name that's spiking up in trade, target 100. Moving on then to autos, then let's flag off Tata Motors. Yesterday as well, it was a big news maker, one of the top gainers on the index. Tempered off somewhat, but Karunya, what's the latest news?
Well, for a very long time, the street was waiting for JLR to say something about their turnaround plan, and now it's finally out. Yesterday and even today, there's an update to what was being talked about all of yesterday, the turnaround strategy to sort of cut costs and bring on to their balance sheet close to 2.3 billion pounds, and in line with that strategy, in line with that plan and targets that they have to achieve over the next 2 to 3 years, they've roped in Boston Consulting Group to help them navigate and help them really improve their financial performance in the next couple of years, and that's an update that is keeping the stock abuzz. Of course, it has cooled a fair bit from the day's high point, but with BCG coming on board, the street is furthermore enthused, furthermore convinced about the seriousness with which JLR is taking up their turnaround plan.
Oh yes, indeed. There's a lot on the cards here for Tata Motors. They're looking at a massive turnaround plan and steps working towards that. Moving on, from 237, Ujjivan has managed to scale up to 250. What's the take on this one? Siddharth, fill us in.
So Ujjivan is one stock which is showing decent bounce back from low levels. Technical experts have also been recommending. Last 2 days there was no volumes, there was no major price action as such. Today there is a resumption of uptrend, and how Avan, because we are seeing clearly lot of open interest built up, 22% rise in open interest with a breakout from that narrow consolidation zone, which means these are fresh formation of long position, and uptrend should continue for some more time.
Okay, that's something to keep an eye out on, an uptrend on the cards, and that's likely to continue. Well, we flagged off OBC. Let's also talk about Indian Bank and Hemant. Let's understand what exactly one should do at 242 levels.
Yes, Aman. I have a buy on Indian Bank. Stop loss 235, target 258. Stock is in a short and short-term uptrend. It's formed an intermediate bottom. Today it's on the verge of overcoming resistance from the 55-day exponential moving average, Aman, and we're seeing a long build-up of more than 7%. So on all counts, it looks like a buy.
All right, that's the take coming in on Indian Bank. Moving on then to Jet Airways, and there's been lots of news surrounding this one, but the news break confirmed, Mubina?
Well, yes, that it is. Yesterday, in fact, our colleague Nantara Rai did speak about a forensic audit, actually a couple of days ago, about a forensic audit that may be in the works for Jet Airways. Turns out that the company itself has actually clarified on the same. They say rather, that the forensic audit of some transactions are currently in progress, and this is from the period April 2014 to March 2018. This is being done at the directions of lender SBI. So you are seeing a bit of red come in on the screen for Jet Airways today in trade, but really that's the trend seen in all aviation counters. Even Indigo in fact is losing in trade.
All right, watch out for Jet Airways. The forensic audit is for certain for some of their transactions from 2014 to 18. Moving on then to Graphite India, let's talk a little bit about what's keeping this stock abuzz, Karanya.
The reason is that they've got a consent for renewal of their operations at the Bengaluru plant. That's an update which is fueled the stock in today's trading session. In fact, if I just read out the release that the company has submitted to the exchanges, they say that the Karnataka State Pollution Control Board has allowed the company to resume operations at the graphite electrode plant. This is going to be until 30th of June 2020, and they've done it after conducting a thorough inspection at the plant on November 23rd, 2018. However, despite the kind of condition that the Karnataka Board, Pollution Control Board has come up with, they are saying that there's no adverse impact that they see on back of this condition, at least from the medium to long term perspective, which could mean that in the short term they could see some blip, but over a longer period of time they continue to be unimpacted.
All right, that's interesting. Graphite India at currently 860. L&T, remember, there's been quite a bit of conviction that has been coming in on this stock, and yet again another brokerage is very upbeat. This time it's Citi. They say that the management is confident to meet their inflow guidance, and that's going to happen with some effort. The H1 margins have come in ahead of what the guidance was, but the guidance has been maintained. And they talk about how important it is to see industrial capex rebound. They say it is important, but it's not exceedingly critical. And they say a likelihood that Q4 of FY19 inflows could be impacted by the general election. 1419, that is the move on L&T right now. Moving on to number 10, and it's clearly PSU banks that's catching everyone's eye. Currently it's Bank of India that we're flagging off. Siddharth, let's chat a little bit about how the stock is moving, what are the resistance levels, and how are volumes shaping up.
Positive first, that there is long formation, and it's not restricted only to Bank of India. There are a lot of other stocks within PSU space which is seeing formation of long position. But the other factors I want to point out, because people might get carried away the way stock moves. Generally PSU banking trend is not sustainable, or it's not showing durability. There are 2-3 days of good days and then again stock correct. So Bank of India, case in point, volumes are very low. Second point I want to highlight, that it is very close to its resistance zone, and that's the reason you are seeing that after that big move we are not seeing further rise in levels in Bank of India. Don't go by those resistance zone which is flashing on your screen, but you will see Bank of India taking some resistance around this 94-95 mark.
Okay, keep an eye out on BOI. That stock is up a good 3%. Moving on to stock number 11 and finally seeing some reprieve on PFC. But is this here to stay, Kunal?
So after last months of, I would say, reversal of sorts for the stock from 110 to, retracing back to almost 85, 87 levels, it's now making a very good comeback. Now this comeback in the larger sense of, things, especially over the last 6 months, 7 months, should be termed as positive because the stock has retraced almost 50% of their losses so far. It's also broken a downward sloping trend line, and that too in the span of the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So I believe that all of these indicates that the stock should restart a new uptrend, and that too on a gradual basis. Immediate targets of 102 is what I would suggest on PFC. Stop loss to be kept at 91.
Okay, that's important to note. Strict stop loss at 91 on PFC. Let's shift gears then, Mubina, and chat a little bit about the brokerage view on Gail. Macquarie seems quite upbeat.
That they do. In fact, they're initiating coverage on this one with a buy, yes. So they are pretty optimistic, and you are seeing the stock price as well react to that. So Gail, in fact, has a buy stance coming in from Macquarie. They have the target price at 455 rupees. They believe that in general itself, they have a constructive view, and they see the stock as a core holding for them. They believe that as India as well is making progress on gas growth ambitions, Gail naturally will stand to succeed. And the fundamental downside is just a modest 10% against a 35 to 70% upside.
Okay, that's important to keep an eye out on. That's Gail in focus for you, up about 0.2%. Meantime, a lot of the ADAG stocks have been making headlines. Let's find out what exactly is keeping Reliance Communications in the news today. Karanya?
Regarding a DOT nod, which they were likely to, actually not likely, but supposed to get on Monday, they had assured the Supreme Court that they will give their approval to Reliance Communications for the sale of their assets to Jio. But the nod did not come in yesterday, and it is in all likelihood going to come in today. That is the reason why the stock is a buzz today. And this entire asset monetization is now only and only dependent on DOT's nod. And once it is in, it will allow them to complete the sale of their airwaves and towers to Jio and real estate parcels to Brookfield. And the funds that they will actually gather as part of this monetization drive, they will use it to pay off to a list of creditors, Ericsson being one of the most prominent ones.
All right. Keep an eye out on that stock. That's Reliance Communications. But before we proceed, let's just shift gears and hear it from the SEBI chairman, Ajit Tyagi, speaking.
Was notice to 3 credit rating agencies, and let's see what they have to say, and we'll proceed for adjudication based on what they say. That you find out. I mean, the 3 credit rating agencies which were supposed to be rating ILFS. Yeah.
Any further progress in that?
No, you can't. It's not an investigation. We have also revised our norms and guidelines for credit rating agencies, so which hopefully will bring improvements. Okay, please.
Great to have you back with us. This is Market Fatafat. We're counting down to all of the stocks that are making the headlines and what you should keep an eye out on are based on technical trends. Well, we've just flagged up 13. Let's keep the countdown going and move on to number 14. And that's an IT stock in focus. In fact, it's Infosys that's on the brokerage radar today. The stock is down nearly 2% in today's trading session. But nonetheless, you have Citi, which is very bullish on the prospects. They are saying that they are confident about the growth and they believe that the margins could see some downside risk. They're saying that the limited upside will keep up as they have a neutral stance on the stock. Target price is 760. They also believe that the JV with Temasek some time back could provide access to portfolio companies and that the management stability as well as investment in sales has resulted in a pickup in large deal wins in the first half of FY19. They're bullish on the stock, but tandem with the rest of the market, the stock is down 2%. Moving on then, let's focus in on Interglobe Aviation and talk a little bit about what the impact is of crude oil prices as well as the kind of trend that we're seeing today, Siddharth.
Well, yeah, that's one of the reasons crude oil prices are now sub $59 per barrel. Even if we, exclude that, then at least one can safely say that around 60, it's stabilizing, and that's not a bad level for aviation companies. Now we understand that the math for OMCs is difficult when you talk about falling crude and the benefits, but the math is not so complicated when it comes to aviation space. And you are seeing that Jet Airways is going through negative news flow. So the only option in aviation space which is left in futures and options segment is Indigo, and that's the reason you are seeing a lot of long positions getting formed. 10% rise in open interest with rise in price, and that's helping stock, and stock is flying high.
Yes, stock sure is flying high in trade today at 1,082. But one that really isn't is Bharti Airtel. In fact, flat as ever in trade today. But let's understand what exactly the view is on the technical charts. Himen, is the undertone on the stock fairly negative going forward? Are you seeing some sort of consolidation? What's your take?
Yes, Avan, as far as Bharti Airtel is concerned, I have a hold on the stock. The indicators have given a cross for buy on the daily chart. The stock is in the process of forming a double bottom. But yes, this double bottom gets confirmed when it crosses 340. So a hold with a target of 340. But from a medium-term point of view, if it takes out 340, we could be moving up by another 30 points or so. Avan, so it's a hold.
All right, hold on. That's the take coming in on Airtel, just about finding its feet around the 315, 320 mark. Moving right on then to Cadilla, and what's going on with this one? Why is the stock seeing quite a bit of red today, Mubina?
Similar reason as to why we saw Biocon yesterday losing. It is with respect to one of its competitors launching a drug, a key drug that belongs to Cadilla, and this is Mylan. They've launched the generic version of Lialda in the United States, and like I said, an important drug for Cadilla because it accounts for nearly 35% of the FY18 earnings for Cadilla. So while Mylan's launch is broadly on expected lines, the other worry point is the fact that Teva had as well launched the drug in March 2018, but it hasn't really seen any ramp up. Nevertheless, the stock price too is one of the top 3 stocks we are flagging off. It's down for 3 out of the 5 days. It's one of the top losers on the Nifty Pharma index as well.
Okay, moving away from Cadilla, let's focus in on number 18 and talk a little bit about Bayer. Let's understand what happened in the con call, Karanya.
Well, the commentary was not encouraging at all given by the management of Bayer, and it's also being reflected in the stock price of not just this particular company but also the likes of UPL, which are reacting negatively in trade. Now, they've cautioned the analysts in the con call on the likely impact of a drought. They said that the drought is likely to impact their fungicide and insecticide sales in the European region. Rainfall in Europe is at a multi-year low, and heat waves are also prevalent. And they say that they expect fewer attacks of fungus, on back of which the fungicide business could be impacted. And also they said that the heat waves will impact agrochem sector in the European region once again. Do remember that Europe is a very important market for a company like Bayer. It accounts for more than 20% of UPL and Arista's sales. So this is why even a stock like a UPL is down and dusted in trade. CIMB says UPL faces volume as well as pricing risk on back of the drought situation that's panning out in the Euro region. So that's the reason why even a Bayer is struggling in today's trading session.
Yep, down about 0.7% as we speak. But let's move right on then. There's news coming in on SBI Life. This is with respect to the stake sale. We understand the US private equity firm Carlyle is closing in to buy a strategic stake in the company, as BNP Paribas Cardiff is looking to pair their stake in order to meet regulatory terms. So there is going to be competition for Carlyle from the likes of KKR as well as Temasek Holdings, as now we're seeing that financial services is becoming a very preferred investment destination for a lot of the global managers in the country. So this is going to be a transaction that could take place at a potential discount to the market price of SBI Life. And we'll have to wait and watch what happens. Remember, we have seen SBI Life that has been in focus. From its listing price, it has declined nearly 16%. 582, that's where the stock is currently at. Well, moving right on to BHEL, and that sure is building in some gains. What are we looking at by way of a movement on the stock today, Siddharth? What is it suggesting?
Well, all these PSU stocks which in earlier part of December series were showing a lot of formation of short position. BHEL was one of them. Coal India, NTPC, ONGC, all these stocks are rallying on short covering. Now, what's happening in BHEL is that after a bout of short covering, we are seeing formation of long position Avan. And interesting thing is, if you look last 3 months, 4 months trend, stock was correcting, forming lower top, lower bottom structure. And if you connect all the tops, you get a downward sloping trend line. Today, That trend line has been breached on high volumes, on formation of long positions, which means that there is a trend reversal in BHEL, at least from short-term perspective.
Okay, that's something to keep an eye out on. Nudging that level of 70, BHEL is active in trade. At 21 then, why should we keep an eye out on Chennai Petro? What exactly is making it a compelling buy, Kunal?
So I think it's one of the highest open interest gainers today. The stock is at a swing breakout, and it's a stock which is very low beta in nature. So when these stocks try and go through a swing breakout process, those swing breakouts or those breakouts, they tend to engulf into a trend, and that's what I'm anticipating could happen for Chennai Petro. It's interesting buy at current levels. Targets could be kept at 294 and stop loss at 274.
All right, watch out for Chennai Petro, compelling buy according to Kunal. But with that then, we'll wrap it up right here on the show, completely timed out on Market Fatafat. The next edition coming up at 1:30 p.m. Do stay tuned.